Thank you, Chairman Issa, and thank you all to witnesses for being here. So there's this issue I was briefed on earlier where countries like China or Germany and so on will say, come to our courts and we'll enforce IP, and then the court will basically set or essentially agree to a worldwide rate for that IP. And so you have a Chinese court adjudicating disputes between a US company and let's say a Scandinavian company. Seems sort of absurd to me that happens, and I don't know why companies here would have to listen to Chinese courts, but it ends up this is agreement that they have to follow. What do you say to sort of try to solve that problem?
I guess, Congressman, I'll listen to a Chinese court when they listen to their own citizens. I guess the starting point would be, I think triadic patents are still an important vehicle, because otherwise if we let any one country just recognize the patent, we see what's happened in the past with those ridiculous curves where it's the number of patents granted by any one country. So I think finding ways to make sure that you have multiple country recognized versus any one country recognized and then held over the U.S. corporation or any U.S. entity that's being taken to task.
Let me ask you, are you generally aware of this problem that has started to occur now in countries like China or Germany or other places where they say, come to our courts and we're going to set this worldwide rate?
It's not an area that we've dealt with at scale. I think in general, the idea of people shopping for a venue and then trying to get a consent decree that conforms to the policy they're trying to establish is a tactic that we'll see more of. I think it's important that we continue to push in the World Trade Organization and other international venues the protection of intellectual property and national rights. There is an effort to have a separate world order that China is trying to organize with Russia, the Taliban, the other organizations they've invited to the Belt and Road Initiative recently. That's not a part of the world order that we want to be part of, so we need to continue to push back with our ideals and values.
Great. Thank you. So another question I have is that American businesses are often targeted by China for their intellectual property, either as a cost of doing business in country or through cyber intrusion. Is China targeting artificial intelligence technologies in this way, and have they been successful? If any of you know.
I can speak to that. Thank you, Congressman. We have seen interest from Chinese threat actors that we associate with the nation state in targeting industries like semiconductors, cloud service providers, and even companies that are doing applied R&D or productization of AI technologies for the purposes of intellectual property theft.
Thank you. So the National Institute for Standards and Technology, otherwise known as NIST, describes trustworthy AI as incorporating validity and reliability, accountability, and privacy among other essential building blocks. In its 2019 AI guidelines, the EU included ethics principles for trustworthy AI. Do you believe Congress should incorporate trustworthy AI into its legislative proposals? What's your view on that?
Congressman, thank you for that question. We definitely support the administration and the leading companies around the world who are developing these models and embedding ethical and responsible AI principles in what we're doing. The NIST's AI risk management framework is a great articulation of that, and we also see it being implemented through model regulations in organizations like the U.S. Department of Defense. And in order to really achieve ethical, responsible AI, it's important to have humans in the loop at every step, and to have test and evaluation methods that rely upon benchmark tests that are often created by academic organizations or federally funded research and development corporations to ensure objectivity.
Even if other countries like China, if they were to not adopt any sorts of guardrails or frameworks like what NIST has put out, do you believe the United States and specifically Congress should still do so?
Congressman, I think it's very important for the United States to continue to lead in this regard. In my testimony, I talked about it being more important to get it right than to be first, and to create the kind of governance framework that other countries around the world will respect and want to implement. And the alternative is if we do not continue to lead, China will continue to promote the kinds of regulations that they've been drafting, which include language like you cannot use artificial intelligence to subvert the People's Republic of China Communist Party and the other values that the Communist Party upholds.
Thank you. And then my final question to Mr. Sheldon. How has China's acquisition of data through Chinese-based applications, purchases from data brokers, and cyber intrusions assisted the PRC in the development of artificial intelligence? And can you explain this strategy of mass data acquisition?
Thank you, Congressman. I think we should have an expectation that China will continue to aggregate large data sets for a variety of different purposes. In some instances, it could be the case that there are future use cases that they haven't even resolved yet, that they want to have data stores on hand. And obviously the advent of AI makes data that they have been able to aggregate much more valuable. So it seems clear that some of the data stores that they've targeted over the last number of years have informed counterintelligence use cases, R&D use cases, and other technological development. And then there could be future ones as well, and we should be alert for that.
Thank you. I yield back.